All right, this is lecture 16. It's on assurance. And I will tell you that nearly every slide on here is a test question. First slide is not. Nearly every slide. Okay, this slide isn't, but most of it is. It says theory allows formal proof of known security policies for components. We can test a component. We can test an individual item. Okay, very easy. Okay, we can also test collections of components. I can build a computer and make sure it works. That always baffles me. Do you ever watch these shows where they build these monstrosity engines and they put them in something, and then how do they test to make sure that all works? You know, it always makes you wonder. Like we used to build. I was a jet engine mechanic, so we used to build jet engines, millions of parts. We couldn't test it until it was all put together. You know, so basically you would have to go back for months to undo it all if you screwed up something on the inside. But with security, we can test components. Okay. Now we talk about policies. So the security policy is a document that states in writing how a company plans to protect the company's physical and information security assets. In ISM, you're writing a lot of policy type stuff. Okay. Are policies important?
Yes.
Yes.
They're very important. I do not particularly like policies, and I like to follow them even less, but the point is they're very important. Okay. Can you imagine if we did not have a password policy? How many people would just have blank or crappy passwords? How many people would leave their password in place for an entire year without changing it, Juan? Yeah. The point is, policies are important, and it needs to pertain to everything. Password policies, usage policies, okay, email policies. I mean, everything. Room policies. I got yelled at because this weekend someone left a trash can with some food in it. I could care less if someone left a trash can with food in it upstairs. So we need to come up with a plan to get that trash dumped. Hire a damn cleaning crew. I'm not about to dump the damn trash. I don't care if I put it in the trash can. But the point is, they want to make a policy about that now to make sure the trash gets out. Like, seriously? No. But I think sometimes you go too far with policies. What now?
They have people for that.
But not on weekends. Unless we do a special event request and get it approved through literally God and everybody, and then they still don't dump it. When we had that last Saturday workshop, we had the event request approved through everybody, and they'll see the doors weren't unlocked, the air conditioning wasn't turned on, the trash wasn't dumped, and nothing was done. So what good did that do? Nothing.
Nada.
So, and they said, well, we need to, no, I ain't doing no damn event request. I'll be here if I feel like I could care less. But what it was, the air conditioner stunk this morning. It was off for some reason, and they said, oh, it's because of this trash can had a banana peel in it. It had a banana peel in one trash can since Saturday afternoon and made the entire building stink. Anyone see a problem with that theory? No, it's called, there's something wrong with the air conditioner. Fix it. Your filters are probably bad or moldy or something. So, yeah, I said, no, I ain't doing that crap. Like, you're not? I said, no. Okay. So, all right. So now we're going to get into this stuff. Let's talk about design principles. These are guiding standards that are relatively independent of policy. So we know what a policy is. Now let's talk about some of these principles. You need to know every single one of these principles. You will see them on the test. Every one of these. There's a principle of the least privilege. It says subject should be given only those privileges needed to complete its task. So we got Juan over here who's a student. Does he need administrator access to be a student? No, he does not. But he would like it, I have a feeling. But the problem is people do that. They give too much access. And the problem is once you give access, it's hard to take back access. You know what I mean? It's hard. Okay? So give people what they need to do their job, but nothing more. Okay, I thought there was a little part of it. But again, but make sure Juan has enough access to do what he needs to do. Don't make it so he can't do his job. Okay? Fail-safe default says unless the subject is given explicit access to an object, it should be denied access. Unless I let you in this building, you shouldn't be allowed in this building. Okay? So are you guys allowed in this building?
Yes.
Yeah, because you're holding classes here. Now, we're a public school and the doors are unlocked and we have thieves coming all the time, but you know, that's a different story. But we want things to be as secured as possible. Unless we let you in, you shouldn't be in. Okay? Unless I give you so say we got this file. If you do not need access to the file, you should not have access to the file. We shouldn't just give it access to everybody, okay? Economy and mechanism. Do not tell me it's the cheapest security available. Someone did that last semester. What? Yes, it's to spend money wisely on your mechanisms. I'm like, what? No. Security mechanisms should be as simple as possible. Okay. We should not make it so you have 87 combination locks and retina scanners to get into this door. Okay. Sometimes I think we do go overboard in some places. So your mechanisms should be in place, but not to the point where people can't do their job, where people can't access it, or people don't want to use it anymore. Years ago, I actually still have the door. I bought a front door for my house. And I bought a biometric lock for it because we had a cleaning service that would come in once a week or twice a week, whatever they came in, I don't know. And every day I had to wait there for them to show up so that they could clean the house. I'd let them in, then I'd leave. Well, I said, I'm going to get a biometric lock. Put their fingerprints in it. They can show up whenever they want. Whoa, no. I was going to steal their soul or something. They would not put their finger. No, I'm not going to do it. So I bought that door for nothing. Crap, that sucked. So you don't want to make it to the point where people can't figure it out, can't use it, or just won't use it.
Is it ridiculous to put it on the
What now? See, Ethan's not in here, but Ethan and them are making a Raspberry Pi to handle the entrance into the cyber lounge. We got it all done. We just have to get the damn lock thing installed. I'm going to take one like that for my house. Then I can randomly lock my mother-in-law in, or lock her out, or randomly turn on stuff and yell at her for turning it on. Would that be awesome?
You're probably recording it already.
I'm
I
recording
don't know what commercial it is that was like controlling all the lights.
Well, some days I just happen to bring up the camera at home and I'll see my mother-in-law. She'll go get some of the refrigerator and walk away. It's like, so I have to get on the camera. Wanda, close the refrigerator. I was like, seriously, this is a true story. But the point is, you don't want to make stuff so confusing where people can't figure it out. Last night, I got a lot of stories, Mark. I have a quick set lock on my door that, the 4 or 5, 6 codes. I think it's 6. I haven't. I was 4. You put in the code and unlocks the door. I got it because it auto locks after 30 seconds. Because it's impossible to lock a door in my house. No one can do it. I don't think you can manually lock the door. They can't. They just don't know how. If someone goes out the door, they must leave it unlocked. I think it's a rule. It's a policy I don't know about. So this lock auto locks.
Vice versa. You should tell leave the door unlocked and probably lock it.
They probably would. But this door auto locks after 30 seconds. So it's funny. Last night the 2 kids came in, and then they shut the door, and literally moments later, Wanda comes up to the door, and it's a 4-digit code. You hear ding. It's wrong because you got to do them all together. So it beeps a couple times. Then you hear, wrong again. She did it like 5 times. Then it was like, She's basically locked out because she did it wrong so many times. And we were sitting there right on the other side of the door laughing at her. So it's kind of bad. Finally, Virginia said, "Hey, will you go let her in?" And she was like, "Well, I was doing it right. No, you weren't." You go, "Did?" And it's like, what do you like? Check the mail? I don't know what you're doing. Then you do it 3 more times. But I know that's bad. She's driving me crazy. Okay, I need to get rid of her. I mean, move her out. Not. I had to go to court for her today. We won. That's okay. So, what now? I was actually in court today. Yes, I literally went to court for it today.
So what did she
Was the accident?
She had an accident. Got a ticket, which we still, to this point, had not seen it. She did get it because he signed it, but we didn't know about it. I even asked the cops, "Hey, is there a ticket?" They said, "I don't know." Well, turns out there was a ticket. She didn't pay it, and she didn't show up to court, so there was an arrest warrant out for her. So they called us and said, "Yes, we have an arrest warrant." I'm like, "For what?" "For this ticket." I'm like, "We didn't know about the ticket." So I went to court and explained it to the judge last month on the arraignment. And he goes, "Okay, I'm going to plead non-guilty for you and go get me proof." So we got our proof, and then he's like, "Okay, good." So we just had to pay for the ticket. We didn't have to pay the missing the courts and all that other fees. There are tons of money for court costs, and
They didn't waiver that ticket either?
I didn't think we were guilty. She literally drove across the center line and head on straight into another car. I mean, she was guilty.
Never mind.
But
It was her fault.
in her defense, okay, it was her fault, totally, 100% her fault. The other girl was there since the judge pleaded not guilty for us. The other driver came there to plead her case, and she started up. I was on 15th Street. I was leaving that liquor store, and I was up there taking a left. I don't think I'd be telling the judge I'm leaving a liquor store. But we had already said we're guilty anyway. So turns out a friend of ours that went with us that was a witness to her losing her brain the day she had the accident happens to be an attorney. I said, why didn't I know you were an attorney? So she literally says, yes. She basically interrupted the judge and the person and said, we're guilty. Can we just pay the ticket? We just don't want to pay the other fines because we technically didn't know we had a ticket. And he's like, huh, sounds good to us. $185, leave, bye. Sweet. So we're out. How'd that relate to this? I don't have a clue. Someone's going to be listening to this saying, what? He is so mean to his mother-in-law. Okay. But not simpler. So we make something so simple that it doesn't work or it's not secure. What good is it either? Okay. Think about it. We're making locks for all these doors. Okay, so we need locks. But if we make one simple lock so we don't have to worry about carrying multiple keys, then we're kind of defeating the purpose. Now, why even have it if, everybody has...
that one key in there.
Right, you get in everything. So not simpler. Okay. Complete mediation. All access to an object must be checked to ensure they are allowed. Here's a perfect example of that. Will Rogers Airport. We all been there. Okay. Y'all go through security?
No.
Do you break in the back?
I've never flown before, that's why. I drop people off at the airport.
2017, and you are
I'm
4?
19.
Okay. Well, I will explain how an airport works. They got these things. They're called planes. But when you get there, you go through security. They check all your stuff. But when you're coming back, you know how you walk down that aisleway, and you see the guy's always staring at you, and you walk past him? He's there to make sure no one else goes down there. Okay, through the wrong way. And my son went on one of them EFT tours to Europe, you know what I'm talking about? Waste of money trips that he just got drunk every day and didn't learn nothing. But the point was, he went on this trip, and we were picking up at 11:30 at night, and we're sitting there outside the gated area, waiting for him to come, and the cleaning guy was sweeping the floor. You got that big old broom, he's going there sweeping everything, and he dropped something, back behind him, didn't realize it, and he gets past the guard with his broom before he realized he dropped it. So should the guard have allowed him to go back and get it? He passed the line. He should not have allowed him to get it, and he didn't. He literally made that cleaning guy go all the way through metal detectors, whatever, again, to go back and get the item he dropped.
That's correct. But
That's what you should do. That's complete mediation. You pass this line, you go through security. And it's kind of like, people say, if we had someone who was late, who's potential, always late coming to do their office hours. And I complain about it. Because I'm always here unless I got meetings. So I said, so what? They're allowed to be 5 minutes late? Well, yeah. So it's like 10 minutes is okay. Well, yeah, 10 minutes is probably good. So what about 20? Yeah, 20 minutes is probably fine. How about 25? 25 minutes is probably... So what about 30? Oh, that's too much. So 25 minutes. It's okay to be 25 minutes late, but not 30. So how about 29? See, the point is when you got a rule and you start giving exceptions to it, what good is it?
29.5.
There you go. Complete mediation says you check everything. And it might suck, but that's the way you need to do it. Because, if you don't, you're going to start having problems.
29.999.
Exactly. That's exactly what I said. So where do we draw this line? Well, 25 is okay. Then why isn't 30 okay? It just drives me crazy. But okay.
Because 25 doesn't equal 30.
What about 0? What about your office hours say 8 a.m.? What time should you be here? 7:45. I was here at 5:30. No, 6 o'clock this morning. I got here right at 6 o'clock this morning. So let's be here at 8. I got here at 6. So I was here plenty of time. Okay.
still be on.
So, yeah. Open design. So security of a mechanism should not be dependent upon the secrecy of the design. We talked about this. Remember, it's 16 rounds in this S box and P box and expansion, permutate, all those. It was initially designed upon secrecy. What good was that? I mean, now that you all done AES, Did we all do AS? We finish AS?
No.
What do you think? A little bit better than DES?
Yeah.
It wasn't difficult, but if you remember DES, it was a bunch of, okay, we're going to swap these two and move this over here. And
And then
Double.
they dump some data. So
yeah, we're going to dump some off. Now we're going to take this one and double it to make, why? At least with by looking at DES, you get the idea of, well, that wasn't important anyway. Whereas you do with AS, you're like, wow, at least all that's important. We didn't throw away anything. There was solid math behind every step we did. Okay.
So AS was like actual encryption where they jumbled everything. Yeah, they mixed it up. Then
They jumbled it all up, but literally it was just jumbled up. It didn't have a theory behind it. Why did the S box drop half the bits like we talked about? Then why did we have to duplicate some of the others to make up for the bits we dropped? Like we just randomly pick them out of the, bits 2 and 48 are going to be duplicated. Why? It's kind of crazy. So. All right, separation of privilege. A system should not grant privilege based on a single condition. So should I let you log into the machine just on the username? No, I want to have a username and password. Okay, and you can also. Okay, anyone ever had anything to do with the church? Well, like a lot of times when churches write checks for stuff, it's normally signed by multiple people. I don't know if you realize, but they do. Most churches the checks will have multiple signatures. Why do they do that?
to show that the entire church supported this.
Right. Multiple people have degree on this. I can't get Juan over there just to go out and buy a whatever. Okay. Well, we don't want a single person to have control of anything. Okay. And also, when giving control, so I ran my own company for years. Okay. Should I be able to receive money and write checks? Now, I ran my own company. I was the CEO and every other letter you could think of.
It's your own money.
So I'm fine with that. But should our payroll person that accepts checks from Rose State be the same person that writes checks at Rose State? Probably not. That's not their private business. It's a large organization. So you really need to keep those separate. And you don't want the same thing that's checking for access to A to check for access to something else. You might use the same functionality of code, but you don't want it, well, I'll let you in one building so you automatically have access to a different building. No, it should be different. Okay, it should be separated out. Okay. Least common mechanisms. Mechanisms used to access resources should not be shared. You don't want one thing. We were actually, you know that screen on my door, we were talking about getting an access control system for the Cyber Lounge. So we're wondering if that's being controlled through a Raspberry Pi, could I do both things together? In other words, my screen is going to... You can bring it in here, I just don't want the pizza delivery guy in here. No, I just don't want a pizza delivery guy knocking on the door and you have to get your money out and interrupt me like I'm interrupting everybody right now anyway. But, so speaking of that, so we use one Raspberry Pi that controlled the screen on my door and controlled access to the door. What do you think?
I just see Roy putting his face on your door. Like
I mean, what happens if the screen fails? Potentially could cause the door mechanism to fail.
For the power, sometimes.
Right. See, when I ran my own business, I had sometimes, like if you have a server that's a DNS server, and a DHCP server, and all these different servers, they're supposed to be on separate machines. Why are they supposed to be on separate machines?
So in case that machine fails, not all of those servers.
Right, in case, can you imagine if the one server that did everything failed? Then you're down totally. Maybe if the one server who did this one thing failed, at least you're partially up and running. Okay, so we don't want to share mechanisms to grant access across multiple things. So the same thing that grants access to our doors grants access to the pool and the gym and handles the credit card payments at the cafe. No, it's probably a bad idea. Okay.
What was that movie that Disney did a while back? It was like the smart house that locked everybody in.
I know what you're talking about.
Yes. Don't remember what it's called, but I remember.
No, it's called Smart House.
Smart
What's it called,
House.
Smart
It's
House?
called Smart House.
They weren't real creative.
No, I was thinking IT.
That's a good movie.
Yes. That's kind of the same thing. Yeah.
That was kind of creepy.
It was kind of creepy. Pierce Brosnan was in it.
I live alone, and I went to bed that night, and I was up till 3, like, watching
Nice.
SpongeBob, trying to, like, make myself.
Nice. All right.
We are talking about it, right?
Yeah. No. We're not talking about it with the clowns. We're talking about it with Pierce Brosnan.
Oh, okay.
IT. He hires an IT guy to come in and fix his computers, and the guy ends up taking over their entire world.
Oh, okay, I remember that.
Yeah, not that it. Different it.
Is that the one where he ends up yeah, with the daughter, yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay. All right. Psychological acceptability. I've so many tangents today. Jeez. Okay. Security mechanisms should not make the resource more difficult to access than if it wasn't there. Don't make them too difficult, because again, people. We got Mary in the other room. Mary's the sweetest person in the world. That's all I keep hearing. Okay, we have to do the textbooks forms because Mary can't quite figure that out. I called her from a trip one day, asked her to do this textbook form. She worked on it the entire day, and it was still wrong. I literally did it in less than 5 minutes. I have a syllabus hooked on my wall. You got to see it. It's kind of where all my locks are. It's below that. Wow. I showed that to the dean. I'm like, no. This is. I would be ashamed to show this to anybody. But the point is, this is kind of like the biometric lock. You know, you don't want to make it so hard that people can't use it, won't be able to figure it out. And we're kind of getting there. Some of the stuff we're getting there. And think about passwords for a second. Think of our Social Security numbers. What good are they anymore? Equifax, what good is our Social Security numbers anymore? They're pretty much worthless. That's going to have to be revamped totally at this point. Okay? So our passwords, we're going to have to change the way we do passwords. They're saying by the year 2020 we won't have passwords anymore. No.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all know what two-factor authentication is. We already talked about that.
Yeah.
And I showed you the Google one where you really don't have to put in code. You just have to say yes. It actually comes up. I have to bring up the Google app on my phone, and it says, you want to give access? Yes, and it lets me run in. So kind of handy they do that. Okay. So that's the design principles. You must know every one of those. Okay, every single one will be on the test. Now let's talk about formal. It says formal verification of the entire system is not yet a practice. I watched a movie in year 2000 put on by Microsoft. Y'all know what Active Directory is. At least we've heard of it, maybe. The year 2000 is when they came out with Active Directory. So I probably still have it somewhere, a movie of when they were implementing Active Directory. And if you paid attention during the movie, the guy goes, the fourth time is a charm. What's that telling me? They tried to implement it 3 times and it kept screwing up, so they'd roll it all back to do it another time. But the point, in that movie, they were talking about why it's so difficult to implement stuff. And they had a guy bring in a video card. To get a video card with its drivers preloaded in Windows, you would have to go to Microsoft with your video card, with all your documentation, with an engineer, and prove to Microsoft that it will work with Windows. But you have to do that with every single update of everything. Can you imagine getting that done? It would suck. It would take. So there's really no way to positively test everything. I used to do beta testing for executive software. They make the defragmentation engine built into Windows. Defragment, you know what that is? Maybe, hopefully. Well, they make the software that does that. And that software, it's funny, I was doing a beta test on it, and I got an error message that says, volume corrupt, restore from backup. Is that a good message? Probably not. So I sent a message back to me, and I'm like, hey, here's the message I'm getting. They're like, oh, what'd you do? I'm like, I don't know. So it's funny. They were overnighting me cookies and other junk food. I'm like, I guess they thought I was just a geeky. I probably was. Some of the kids would stay up all night eating junk food playing on the computer. But they were sending me all this crap to figure out what was going on. And they finally figured out what it was. Well, it was the version of McAfee I was running, along with a version of something else I was running. Those specific versions conflicted with each other. And it produced this error message. So you know how they fixed it? You know those README files they always put out? There's a little line. If running McAfee 2.9.17 along with such and such, disregard message. I mean, that's cheap. That's not even a fix. That's just the
Just disregard the message.
Disclaimer.
exactly. So, I mean, it really didn't cost because I didn't lose any data. And they had me reload my machine and everything else. It's like, what's causing this? I'm like, I don't know. And finally, they found it was that. So it's kind of funny. Okay, so it's really hard to test an entire system. You can't, even in row state. So we got a security team. We got, I was talking to a bunch of students this morning, about 110 of them. This door is locked every night. But does that mean it's never unlocked? No. Once in a while they accidentally are going to leave it open. It's very hard to test everything completely. It would be very hard. Okay. Trustworthy. It says sufficient evidence to believe system will meet requirements. Okay. I trust Juan right here. He's trustworthy. I would assume that it's kind of a level of trust. Okay. Now my trust for Madison over here is not quite up to the one. I haven't had Madison in class. I don't know.
Who's one?
This guy.
I've known Juan forever. And he's much more trustworthy than you. Talking like level 10, Juan. Madison's not there. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so sufficient evidence to believe it will meet the requirements. Okay? Now, assurances is confidence a system meets security requirements. If you do what? No. I haven't been eating carbs lately. So it says confidence the system meets security requirements. Now, it's often based on the development process. Okay? I don't know. I'm assuming no one here has actually commercially developed software before. We use a specific process. It's called the CMM, Capability Maturity Module. At Tinker, we were CMM level 2. 1 is like your God. Okay, we were level 2, which is tough to get. But what it is, it's a process of developing software. There's a specific process. Basically, you all know what design like pseudocode and flowchart is.
Yes.
You go through all that. Then you get that all reviewed through everyone. You make all that. You do that multiple times until everybody's happy with the design. And then you implement the code. And then you got that checked multiple times for everybody. Then so there's a really drawn out process to do it correctly. What they're saying here with assurance is, if you follow the correct steps, it's probably going to be secured. So if you download a physics guide or a NIST document that tells you how to implement a firewall, and you follow it correctly, it's probably going to work. Don't you agree? So if you download what someone gave you, follow the requirements, it should possibly work. So I have assurance that it's going to work because I use these instructions. Same with making a recipe. If you follow the recipe correctly, you could be assured that your cake is going to be a cake when it's done. Okay? Kind of the same thing. Trusted systems are evaluated past in terms of well-designed requirements and evaluation methods. Okay? Requirements are a big deal. Okay? Well-defined requirements. I mean, I keep pressing. I teach a lot of programming classes, and I always tell people requirements are important. You need to follow the requirements. So many times people will turn in code that doesn't meet the requirements. I'm like, that's not what I asked for. The best one was like maybe a year or two ago. Some students, I gave them a really bad grade because I asked for this and it did something totally different, and I gave them a really bad grade on it. I don't give out zeros unless you cheat. I will normally give like a 1. That way I at least looked at it. But he yelled at it. He goes, I don't understand. He goes, programming, you're supposed to have fun. So next time you want to buy a specific car, contact Chevy and say, oh, no, don't worry about what you do. Just have fun. See what the heck you get. That's not what you wanted. You wanted a specific car. You don't want a bunch of potheads out there building you a car. Who knows what you're going to end up with a van or something. I don't know what you're going to end up with. But following... Exactly. Well-defined requirements. Okay. Now let's talk about secure versus trust a little bit more. Secure is binary. Is that door secure right now? No, because Madison walked in. You need to lock it next time. Okay. It's a binary concept. It's property of the presenter. I can present to you that this door is locked. Well, in this case, it's not. Okay. It's absolute. It's either is locked or isn't locked. There's no. So what if the door is halfway locked?
There's a key inside that's kind of turned.
So then it's not really locked anymore because it's not secured anymore. So it's either locked or it's not locked. I mean, you can't be. It's kind of like when the door is half closed, but I can still push on it. So it's literally not closed. You understand? And it's assertive, so I can tell you something is secure, and it's also a goal. We would like a secure system. But your system's either secure or it isn't. Now, trust, on the other hand, this we get into the whole Juan and Madison thing here. So there's different degrees of trust. How much do I trust that Juan's going to do good on the final exam? Since he got an A on the first one, I'm assuming he's going to do good on the second one. Okay? So there's different degrees of this. I trust more people, certain people more than others. I let Roy into my house when I'm not home. Is that a level of trust? Yeah, definitely. I trust him. Hasn't ripped me off yet. Give him time. But he might.
Once he's ripping you off, but he might make every screensaver in your house is
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd name
Doing
that
shenanigans.
we've
Never
got
did
to.
shenanigans.
Yes. So, now trust is the property of the receiver, okay? I work with Roy. I know what level of trust he presents to me, because he's a trustworthy person, so property of the receiver. It's relative, it's judged. I might trust Roy totally different than somebody else, okay? Obviously, I trust Juan different than Dr. Shinoy does, okay? And it's a characteristic. You're a trustworthy person. You're not going to see a characteristic of, man, Juan, you're a secure person. No, there's no such thing. Okay.
You're
All right.
somewhere in the afterworld in your face, like, no one's ever been to me.
Test question right there on that slide. That exact slide is a test
I'm
question.
gonna write every slide down.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Got it, my play.
All right. That's the end of
He's writing something.
our very last lecture. No, one more.